Hi guys, it's Crystal with Emerson Aurora Design. Today I have a fun one for you. I'm going to make an X-ray tumbler using glow powders and a bunch of different other effects. Let's get started. This is a 25-ounce straight tumbler from the Stainless Steel Depot. It has been prepped and sanded and spray painted white. I'm using this pigment mica. It's a glow powder from Glitter Craze. Doesn't have a specific name, that's the pigment number, but it essentially is white and it glows green. I'm also going to mix in some of this crushed crystals from Sparkly Meemaw. It's a microfine glitter that gives a really pretty sparkle when mixed in your epoxy. So I'm mixing both of those into my epoxy here. I'm putting a generous amount of the glow powder into this epoxy that I've already mixed up. And then I'm also going to go ahead and add some of that crushed crystals. I know it's hard to see. I'm kind of out of frame. I apologize for that. But it looks like that this mica, the glow mica, will turn the epoxy yellow. But just wait, it's fine. It'll stay white once it's on the tumbler. This is probably about 25 mLs of epoxy here that I'm going to place on my tumbler directly over the white spray painted base, just to give it a good layer of the glow powder and a little bit of sparkle. This will be the base for our X-ray, and you'll see here in a few minutes how I achieve that look. So once I've applied my epoxy mixture, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with my torch to pop any of the bubbles that I have and to evenly spread out that epoxy. And I'm going to let it cure completely for 4 to 6 hours. This is a quick drying epoxy, and then we'll be ready for our next step. So this here is a vellum. It's vellum that I found at Michael's on clearance after Halloween about 2 years ago. And I've always wanted to use it on something, so I thought I would use it on this tumbler. It's x-rays of various things. There's a foot, a pelvis, a hand, a skull, and even a bug. But I thought it would look neat on this tumbler. And it was almost big enough to fit around my tumbler, but I needed one more stripe. So I'm going to cut one of these little sections here to piece into my tumbler. If you've never used vellum before, I've used to use it in my scrapbooking. It's a semi-translucent material. It's pretty firm, and it's used a lot of times with scrapbooking. I like to try different textures and different mediums to put on my tumblers, so I wanted to give this a try. This is an 8x8 scrapbook paper, and it fits perfectly on my tumbler for the height anyway. So here's how I want to place that. Now I ran into a couple obstacles using this vellum. I don't know what vellum's made out of. I don't know why, but I always equate it to like a gelatin, and it's not gelatin. I have no idea. Anyway, I'm going to apply this with Mod Podge, and I was skeptical. I was not sure how this was going to work. You will see here in just a little while. I had thought about copying it into my computer and reprinting on water slide, and I think ultimately that would have actually been a better idea for this tumbler, to actually copy that and put it into my computer and then print it on water slide. if I wanted a completely smooth base. But you know what? I go with the flow. You'll see what happens when I put this vellum on my cup. But if you want a more perfect look, you go ahead and do all those extra steps. I was going to put this directly on my tumbler and then see what happens. Vellum does not do very well when it gets wet, and the Mod Podge makes it wet, so it bubbles up. You'll see, I'll do a couple close-ups here in a few minutes, but I am applying the Mod Podge in a thin coat, and I'm rubbing that vellum directly onto the tumbler and trying to push out any bubbles that I can. You can kind of see here that the vellum is, I don't know, it's not working the way I wanted it to, but you know what? I don't care. I'm going to keep on going. I needed a little bit more for the edges there. Unfortunately, the more moisture you put on this, almost the worse bubbling it does. It creates. But I actually like the way it looks in the end, because this is supposed to be kind of like an old creepy x-ray. I mean, who has x-rays of bugs and just a random hand laying around? So something creepy. This is Halloween, so I'm okay with it having some bubbles. So I fought with this for a little while. I went in and I thought, well, maybe I can just puncture the vellum and press out the air bubbles like I do with vinyl. However, this is not vinyl. There's absolutely no stretch to vellum. I'm going to get a close-up here so you can kind of see what I'm doing and what it looks like. It's hard to see from far away. I'm just slicing it into the bubble there and trying to press it down into the Mod Podge, but you can see the wrinkles. And in the end, this actually kind of added to the ambiance of this creepy little tumbler that I'm making. So I'm good, and I'm going to go with it. But if you guys wanted to recreate this, you may want to just search for x-rays online and print them on water slide. I'm not a quitter. My mama never said I was a quitter. Slicing this did nothing to help it, but oh well, it's fine. The epoxy will eventually cover it anyway, and you'll just see a little bit of wrinkling underneath, and it's fine. It looks like an old-timey x-ray. So I decided to give up, and then I'm going to just trim my edges of the little strip that I did so that I have a nice seam. Make sure you have a sharp blade when you do this. Vellum is fairly thick and hard to cut with a blade. So I have my handy little cup edging tool. I purchased this on Amazon. It's Linmo brand cup edging tool. I can leave a link to that in the description below if you're interested. I'm going to trim the top and the bottom so that I have a really clean edge, especially since the vellum kind of went over the curve of the bottom. And like I said, the vellum is a little bit hard to cut with a blade. I had to go over it several times, and that's fine. This is a brand new blade, but the vellum was still a little bit tacky wet from the Mod Podge, and I think that that's where it was giving me trouble. But no matter. It ended up being just fine. I don't mind leaving all my bloopers and mistakes in my videos. I figured it's a learning tool for you, so if you want to recreate this and you can make it even better than I did, learn from my mistakes. But I think that this tumbler actually turned out really well, even though it wasn't completely an easy tumbler to make. But next time I think it'll be easier. I always try to learn from my mistakes and better my cup after the first time I make it. So just like with my fabric tumblers, I'm going to go ahead and add a couple layers of Mod Podge over this because I don't want the epoxy to soak down in. You want to add thin, even strokes of Mod Podge, at least 2 or 3 coats. I believe I did about 2 coats on this one. I didn't feel like it needed as much as my regular scrapbook paper or fabric tumblers, but 2 to 3 coats, let them dry completely in between and get the edges really well so that epoxy doesn't seep underneath and cause any wet spots when you're doing that later. Once this Mod Podge is completely dry, I'm going to go ahead and epoxy that tumbler, and you'll see it here on the turner. Now I did put already a layer of epoxy on this tumbler, and you can kind of see those creases and bumps in the tumbler, but does it even matter? I don't think so. So I let that completely cure, and I have to apologize, you guys. I did take this tumbler out once it was cured, and I did the Dawn Dish Power Wash method with using 2 colors. I used Grape by Rust-Oleum and Black by Rust-Oleum, and I lost that footage or my camera didn't record. I'm not really sure what happened to it. But if you're not sure how to do the power wash method, I do have other videos I can link. I do apologize that I don't have that footage here. But this is after I did the Dawn Power Wash. The power wash didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it, but that's no matter. I'm going to go in with some acetone here, and I'm going to clean off some of that spray paint to reveal the X-ray areas that I really want to focus on. Anytime that you're going to remove spray paint, a spray paint over your tumbler, you want to use acetone to remove the largest part of the paint, and then the isopropyl alcohol to kind of clean it up. It doesn't remove the paint as quickly and as fast as the acetone does. So you go back and forth with the acetone and the alcohol to clean that spray paint up. I just wanted a little bit of the power wash really to give it a little bit more texture. So it may look like that I'm removing quite a bit. Part of this is because also that the Dawn Power Wash kind of slid around on my tumbler. You can see that black area there. I'm not really happy with how the power wash turned out, but once I clean it up, I am happy with it. And I didn't want to cover up too much of my glow powder. I know you guys haven't seen it glow yet, but you will be amazed. It looks pretty cool at the end. I'm just using coffee filters here to remove that paint, and I'll let you watch my process. You can see how that rubbing alcohol just kind of cleans and brightens it up and gets rid of that haziness. I even go over the actual spray painted section lightly with my rubbing alcohol to kind of take away that haziness that this oversprayed leaves and brightens up the image underneath. The harder you push with the rubbing alcohol, the more paint you'll remove, so just know that. I guess if you make a big mistake, you can go back outside, re-spray paint it, and start over again. That's the beauty of spray painting over the epoxy tumbler. But I want to see as much of the x-rays as I can. I really like the x-rays of the skull and the hands. I like the rib cage, the thoracic cavity. Those were my favorite ones, so I'm trying to reveal those a little bit more for a creepy vibe. This is going to go in my Halloween tumblers folder here on YouTube. If you want to see more of my Halloween tumblers, go to my Halloween tumblers folder and take a look. For those that may not know, I am a registered nurse. I have worked in critical care almost the complete history of my nursing career, and I love bones. It sounds weird, but I do. I like these x-rays. I think they're just so cool. So here we are on the turner. Now I do have a layer of epoxy on this, and you can see how nicely that all cleaned up. I'm going to show you that I wanted to add a little bit more sparkle. It just needed a little bit more pizzazz. There is a little bit of, you have a nice sparkle underneath, but I want to go in with my chunky. So I have Too Faced XL by Sparkly Mima and Neverland by The Glitter Craze. I can link those in the description below. They are both really pretty holographic, chameleon, color shifty, I don't know, chunky mixed glitters. One's in a green, kind of greens, and one has like purples and blues. And I'm going to kind of just rub it on the tumbler where I see fit. And I need a little bit more, so I'm going to use this black holographic fine glitter. It doesn't have a name. I don't know where I bought it, but there you go. And like I said, this was epoxied and still wet when I'm doing this. I'm adding that glitter just kind of in the areas that I want more sparkle, which is mostly where that power wash is, since the glitter has some black in it. So I just wanted to add a little more pizzazz and sparkle to this tumbler, a little bit of depth. So you can just kind of spread that sparkly glitter where you like. Another way to add sparkle is you could just sprinkle the glitter right on. But I didn't really want it to move too much into the x-ray areas. So by mixing it with the epoxy, it just kind of sits where you put it. Hit it with a little bit of my heat from my torch, pop any bubbles, and we'll be just about ready. Now this tumbler did need one more layer of epoxy after this layer cures, just to get those glitters all nice and covered smoothly. There's a nice little close-up of my pretty glitters. And here she is. This is in regular light. And then here it is glowing. And I really love how that glow turned out. And I hope you guys do too. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you learned something new. Don't be afraid to take chances, and sometimes mistakes turn out to be happy accidents. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below, and happy crafting everyone. Thank you so much.